Welcome to James Joyce's divine and delirious comedy Finnegans Wake. In this episode, number 21, we'll hear Irish-Canadian actor and my good friend and colleague Richard Harte performing pages 96 to 100 from Chapter 4 of Joyce's last novel. I'm Adam Seelig, the director of the reading you'll soon hear. This episode is releasing on January 1st of 2026, so I wish you all a happy new year. Finnegans Wake is a production of One Little Goat Theatre Company. One Little Goat will film and record all 17 chapters, roughly 30 hours, of Joyce's Finnegans Wake before live audiences in various locations, screening and releasing them along the way with the aim of completing the entire book in time for its 90th birthday, May 4th of 2029. One Little Goat Theatre Company is an official charity in Canada and the United States. If you'd like to support our work, please visit us online at www.onelittlegoat.org to make a charitable donation. To get in touch with us, you'll find our email address on One Little Goat Theatre Company's website, and we'd love to hear from you. We left off last time with the four old men singing, most fittingly for this New Year's Day episode, Robbie Burns' Auld Lang Syne, that classic hit of New Year's Eve. The song's refrain, "We'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne," you may remember in its Finnegans Wake version as performed by Richard Harte. Here's that moment again should your memory want refreshment, so to speak.
Oh, it was too bad to be falling out about her kindness pet and the shape of Auld Lang Syne.
It sounds like Finnegans Wake is wishing us all a happy new year. The opening 10-line sentence of today's reading from Chapter 4 ends with one of my favorite phrases in the Wake, which frames us, the readers and listeners of this novel, as the inheritors of our protagonist H.C. Earwicker's story. The text first points to you, then to us. Quote, "You, charming co-parsoners, us, heirs of his talesy," close quote. We, my fellow readers and listeners, are receiving HCE's legend. We are at once the heirs, H-E-I-R-S, of the tale, T-A-L-E, and hairs, H-A-I-R-S, on the tale, T-A-I-L, of this shaggy dog story that is Finnegans Wake. Or more accurately, Shaggy Fox story, because today's reading opens with a fox hunt, with Earwicker playing fox to his pursuers' gun dogs. HCE manages to outfox his predators by hiding and holding up with a warm drink, and the hunt is called off. Why is HCE portrayed here as a fox? The beginning of Chapter 4 zoomorphized him as a lion. Why now this vulpinism? Adeline Glasheen sees the fox as Charles Stewart Parnell, the Irish nationalist leader who, like Earwicker, was hounded by scandal. In Glasheen's own words, quote, "I am baffled by the animals of Finnegans Wake, for example, bear, lion, bull, hound. Fox is especially dodgy, foxy. Uncertain, I suggest that fox usually indicates that Parnell is present on the page, but is not directly named. In The Shade of Parnell, Joyce says Parnell was hunted to death from city to city like a deer. A hunted deer is poetic, innocent, passive, and it may have struck Joyce that better sport, and just as cruel, is hunting a trickster fox. At any rate, foxes are the common prey of the hunter in Finnegans Wake, and the hunted seems to be Parnell combined with his traducer Pigott, who was hunted through Europe to his death." Close quote. It's worth noting that this traducer or slanderer, the obscure Irish journalist Richard Pigott, forged evidence against Parnell. His forgeries were exposed at trial because he publicly misspelled the word hesitancy, H-E-S-I-T-A-N-C-Y, as hesitancy, H-E-S-I-T-E-N-C-Y, thereby linking him to the counterfeit documents. A real gotcha moment in the legal drama surrounding Parnell. And what word in our text should appear not once, not twice, but 3 times in the short paragraph following the fox hunt? That's right, hesitancy. in all its misspelled glory and infamy. So yes, Glasheen, as always, is onto something when she links Earwicker to Fox and Fox to Parnell, pursued by scandal wherever they run. Coming to arrest our Fox, or in French, Renard, now finds himself surrounded by a group of officials. Quote, "Assemblymen murmured, Reynard is slow," close quote. Early in Chapter 4, Earwicker finds himself surrounded by a different group of officials, described as a public body. So from the start to the end of this chapter, and let's not forget the trial in the middle, society in its official public forms is judging our protagonist. From here, rumors, as is their wont, spread far and wide, reporting on HCE having run away or died or nearly died in all kinds of absurd ways. The news in this case is, as we hear too often today, fake. But at least it's entertaining, from stories of HCE escaping overseas via tunnel and ship, to his drunken drowning in a pond, even though he seems to have only waded into the water up to his crotch, to his fantasy-like encounter with Mr. Whitlock, a character I imagine, based on his name, with the long white hair of a medieval wizard, to reports of Earwicker, quote, disguised as an ex-nun. In Chapter 2, rumors about HCE spread from person to person by word of mouth, eventually reaching Hosty the busker, who spread the rumors further through his scandalous ballad. Here, in Chapter 4, the grapevine is boosted by the mass of media and charged by the speed of technology. Early reports on HCE appear in a newsletter, then quickly move from print to radio to Morse code. The technological cues abound in short, punchy, mostly two-word sentences throughout today's last paragraph. Wires hummed, chirpings crossed, cracklings cricked, Morse nuisance noised, aerials buzzed, and so on. And, this being Finnegans Wake, all this technology is also subverted and mocked. Jams jarred, mush spread. The Wake never fails to take the piss. It's called technology. This refrain from a new, mostly instrumental track by Micaiah McCraven, Theon Cross, and Ben Lamar Gay keeps echoing in my mind when I think of this technology sequence in today's reading. I'll link to the song on One Little Goat's podcast page for those wanting to treat their ears to something different. Now it's time for Richard's performance of James Joyce's Finnegans Wake, page 96, line 25, to page 100, line 4 of Chapter 4. The performance was filmed and recorded at Type Books on Queen Street West in Toronto on January 22nd, 2024, with a live audience.
Well, even should not the framing up of such figments in the evidential order bring the true truth to light as fortuitously as a dim sear setting of a star chart might, heaven helping it, uncover the nakedness of an unknown body in the fields of blue. Or as forhearingly as the sib speeches of all mankind have foliated, earth seizing them from the root of some fun or stutter, all the sound of sense to be found immense. Our special mentalists now holds, secure as you that got orbis to them, that by such playing possum, our hideous curious ancestor bestly saved his brush with his posterity. You, charming comparsoners, us, heirs of his talesy, gun dogs of all breeds were beagling with renounced Derby and Dorbic bugles, hot to run him, giving law on a scent breast high, keen for the worry. View, from his holt out ratted across Yuletide's genial courselands of Humphrey's chase from Mullenhob and Peacockstown, then bearing right upon Tankerstown, the outlier, a wide knoll in which Mr. Lowenstyle fits his horse's basset beaters has first misbadged for a bruin of some sort, led bears the run, then through Raystown and Harlockstown, and loop at the loop to Tankerstown again. Here canny hair for Dublin through Teeverstown, they raced him through Loughlinstown and Nutstown to wind him by the boolies. But from the good turn when he last was lost, check upon ye hill of rut and full winter coat with ticker pads, punting for his rooming house's old notice and his roll of royal hessians, a deaf fuchsiar's volpanism hid him close in covert, miraculously raven fed and buoyed up in rumour reticule a bummer son and unsum upon. May all Brewham have his mead, the cream-clotted sherriness of cinnamon syllabub. Mickle raved, mickle saved. Hence hounds, hide home. Preservative perseverance in the re-education of his intestines was the rebuttal by Wilkie's, or to get the big bulge on the whole bunch of spa-soakers, dieting against glues and gravies in that sometime pre-street pro-town. Vainly violence, virulence and vituperation sought well nigh utterly to tax and abridge, to derail and to pontify, to enrate and enroll, to ungold and unhume a great shipping mogul and underlinen overlord. But the spoil of hesitance, spell of hesitancy, is it ache, is it ash, tittery tart, tittery tail, hesitance, hump on a dimply, hey, 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 hey. Wincy winky. Assemblyman murmured, Reynard is slow. One feared for his days. To dare yawn, 'twas his stomach. Eruct, the liver. A gush from the visuals. Pung, delivering our load. He had laid violent hands on himself. It was brought out in Fugger's newsletter. Laid down, all in, fagged out, the equally melancholy death. With a triduum of Saturnalia, his goat servant had paraded his willing sons in the forum, while the Jenny infant hid the lass, to be greeted raucously, the yard stated, with who's and a fuse, and measure with missiles too, from 100 of manhood and a whimmering of wives. Big went the bang. Then wild wide was quiet. A report. Silence. Das fame put it under either. The nose of the lowell had driven him blem, stun blem. Sparks flew. He had fled again, hoping sunshimmer. This country of exile, sloughed off, sidles home via the subterranean, shored with bedboards, stowed away and anchored in a Dutch-bottomed tank, the Arsa, SS Finlandia, and was even now occupying under an Islamic new Haim in his 7th generation, a physical body Cornelius McGrath, bad old character, common around Carrantbung, in Asia Major, where as Turk of the theatre, first household flatty, King 11 sharps, he had BPS'd the bike dances from the opulence of his omnibox, while as Arab at the street door he bested the bumbashaws for the arms of a Paris pence. Wires hummed. Peacefully, general astonishment, assisted by regretitude, had put a term to his existence. He saw the family Sagarth, resigned. Put off his remainders, was recalled and scrap-heaped by the maker. Chirpings crossed, an infamous private aim, and vulgo vario venerum, had claimed and right, closed his vicious circle, scrap. Jams jarred. He had walked towards the middle of an ornamental lily pond when inebriated up to the point where brace shirts beats knickerbockers as wangfish dared in the buoyant waters, when Rodman's first aiding hands had rescued him from very possibly several fail of demi-fresh water. Mush spread on Umbrella Street, where he did drinks from a pumps at kite workman. Mr. Whitlock gave him a piece of wood. What words of power were made fast between them? Eke names and ock gnomes, ac nomina ec numina? That, did Hansard tell us, were gargard stubs here wagging every pub of all the city. Batty believes a bit on, while Hogan hears a hod. Here prefers a pencil sharpener, and cup and ball go cup and ball. And the Cassidy Craddock Roman ream round a wage, near a wage is still immer than him, or a wagering over it, a cradle with a care in it, or a casket with a kick behind. Thoughties, testies, quoties, questies. The war is in words, and the wood is the world. Mapley me, willowy wee, hickory he, and you yourselves. How for him chirrupeth ever each bird, from gold dawn glory to glowworm gleam. We were low quacks, did we not, taciturn? As for there, here no concern of the Giddises, but only the ruining of the rain is heard. A stout pawed porterel, crackling script, Human pest cycling, psst, and recycling, past about the sledgy streets. Here he was, psst again. Morse nuisance noise. He was loose at large and, oh baby, might be anywhere when a disguised ex-nun of huge stand build and masculine manners in her fairly fat 40s, corpulenta joygasta, attracted attention by arbitrary conduct with a omnibus. Ariel's buzz, the coastal listeners of an R-tax bureau collector's budget. Fully bigs, sparran, tie, tough, tabard, and bloody anti-chill cloak. It's Taylor's Bairnfather's tab reading VPH, found nice Scal Brothers hole, and divers shiver to think what kind of beast, wolves, cropuses, or fourpenny friars had devoured him. CW cast wide. Is it Finsleek? Drone sverd gleam. Valkyr locked. On his pinkster's postern, the boys had it. At Wit Weekend had been nailed up an inked-up name and title, inscribed in the national cursives, accelerated, regressive, filiform, turreted, and envenomoloped in pigotry. Move up Mumpty. Mike room for Rumpty. By order, Nicecolas Plug. And this go. No pentecostal jest about it. How gregarious his race soever. Or skilful, learned, wise, cunning, knowledgeable, clear, profound is saying, fortitude of front, or prudential proven, where he chief, count, general, field marshal, prince, king, or miles of slasher in his person, with a Molior mother mansion in the Breffnian Empire and the place of inauguration on the hill of Tullymongan, there had been real murder of the Ray Hillach Roigel Raxacraxian variety. The McMahon chaps it was that had done him in. On the fed of Vorda, the rampart combatants had left him lying, with his dexter hand coup resurrected in a pureed palme bloody proper. Indeed, not a few thick and thin well-wishers, mostly of the Clontarf-minded class, Colonel John Ball O'Rourke, for example, even ventured so far as to loan or beg copies of de Blaincy's Triwingle Tri-Weekly, scatterbrains after being pushed, so as to make certain sure one time and be satisfied of their quasi-contribucidalitarians having become genuinely quite beatly dead, whether by land, whether by water. Transoceanata clamoured him, the latter, the latter. Shall their hope then be silent, or Macfarlane lack of lamentation? He lay under leagues of it in deep Bartholomew's Deep.
That was Richard Harte reading pages 96 to 100 of Chapter 4 from Finnegans Wake, recorded live at Type Books on Queen Street West in Toronto on January 22nd, 2024. Join us for episode 22 in a fortnight when Richard reads the end of Chapter 4 of Finnegans Wake. In the meantime, to be sure you don't miss the episode, why not follow or subscribe to this podcast? For more on One Little Goat's Finnegans Wake project, including transcripts of this podcast and the complete films of chapters 1, 2, and 3, visit our website at onelittlegoat.org. And to hear about upcoming performances and screenings, join our mailing list also on our website. One Little Goat Theatre Company is a non-profit, artist-driven, registered charity in the United States and Canada that depends on donations from individuals to make our productions, including this one, possible. If you're able, please make a tax-deductible donation through our website, www.onelittlegoat.org. Finnegans Wake is made possible by Friends of One Little Goat Theatre Company and the Emigrant Support Programme of the Government of Ireland. Thank you for your support. And thank you to the artists for this episode. Richard Harte, sound by William Bembridge, stage management by Sandi Becker, directed by yours truly, Adam Seelig. A big thanks to Claire Foster and the staff and owners of Type Books, as well as to our wonderful live audience. Thank you to everyone at the Irish Consulate in Toronto, and thank you to production consultants Cathy Murphy, Andrew Moodie, and Shai Rotbard-Seelig. Thank you for listening.